well today. My name is Dr. Boyce Watkins. Welcome to drboycetv.com, the home for intelligent Black people. And today I get an opportunity to talk about some stuff that's real interesting to me with a brother that's very, very smart. He's great in this community. He's a family man. He also happens to be very, very well versed in the world of sports, very well experienced. I'm going to let him tell you more about that. His name is Andre Odom, and Andre is out of Philadelphia. I want to ask my brother, how you doing today, man?
I'm excellent. How are you?
Doing very well, brother. Doing very well. Thank you for asking.
Yes, sir.
So everybody that's coming in, we're building Black media here. So I hope you'll hit the thumbs up button, share, subscribe button, and so let's just jump right in. So, Andre, if I were to say something like, okay, my friend Andre Odom is a sports agent and a damn good one, by the way. How accurate would that be? And what did I leave out in that statement?
Oh man, it would be very accurate. I believe that my background, it kind of speaks for itself. I've put a lot of work in to get to where I am in life. Not only this position in the sports segmentation of the business, but in general. Obviously, coming from the extreme circumstances that we come from within the inner cities of our respective cities, there's a lot to be said for that because not many of us have these opportunities to, make it to this level. So, it's not just me doing this, it's me doing it for, the younger generation, my children, the people that are going to come after me. I read a quote somewhere one time that said, if you're the first person to do something, just make sure you're not the last. That makes sense. So, I don't go into things being selfish. I think about other people. I want to make sure that I leave such a, phenomenal, tremendous impact. So that way the people coming after me will have the same opportunities or even greater.
Well, I love that. I love that. So let's start with your background. You have some affiliation with Temple University, from
For
what I
sure. Yes, sir.
tell me about Temple.
Yes, sir. So I went to Temple undergrad. Temple actually changed the trajectory of my life, I would say. I was at a small Division II school called Bloomsburg University out of Pennsylvania. I went there fresh out of high school because I didn't get accepted to the schools that I wanted to get accepted to. I was originally supposed to have went to Lafayette University, which is, it's not Ivy League, but it's sort of like the lower level beyond, little lower level underneath the Ivy League schools. So we play schools like Lehigh and Fordham, schools like that. So highly educational universities. And, unfortunately, me coming from, the public schools district, I didn't have the SAT score that I needed to get in. I had the GPA at 3.5, but they wanted like, 1250, 1300 on SATs. I just didn't have it. So, I ended up going to Bloomsburg for a year and, played football there my freshman year. And the biggest thing about me is that I learned about myself at a young age was, I learned how to make great business decisions, right? So I thought to myself, I said, well, I'm at a Division II school, and I'm 18 years old at the time. I said, well, I'm at a Division II school. I'm probably not going to the NFL, right? So let me figure out a better way to handle this. So that way, when I do decide to transition out of sports, I'll have a smoother transition into the professional world that I at least want to get into, the segmentation that I want to get into. So I decided to leave Bloomsburg and I transferred to Temple. I said Temple was a better university. It's in the city. The professors that I will have at Temple will actually be within, the industry, like hands-on, adjunct professors. So I think I'll have a better opportunity to leveraging those relationships down the line, depending on what I want to get involved with. So I ended up going to Temple. I spent 3 years there. I graduated, obviously 4 years total in college. And I mean, the rest is kind of history from there.
Okay, so so Andre, let me ask you this, man. So you okay, so now you sign athletes to go mostly to the NFL, or is it
Yeah.
NBA and NFL?
Yeah. Well, more so the NFL at this point right now. And it's only my main focus is the NFL right now because that's pretty much what my background was in. Obviously I played football, and not to get too much into my background, but I actually coached football too. I went back to Temple to get my master's in business while simultaneously becoming a graduate assistant football coach for the football team. So, I did that. And, for the individuals that know about the sports industry, I mean, those jobs are tough. You're working 16, 17, 18 hours a day because, you're the young guy, right? So you have to pay your dues and put your work in. So at the time I wasn't married. I believe I was 24 because I spent 2 years in the professional world as a business banker and a branch manager for PNC Bank. And when I left there, I left all that on the table to go back to school to get my master's in business. And that's when I became a GA. So I was working 16, 17 hours a day between coaching football and going to class. And one thing that I saw that I wanted to make sure I distinguished myself from the rest of the GAs were they didn't really go to class. They could care less about class. They were there for football. Me personally, understanding that I'm black and there's not many coaches, in the NFL, right? Many black coaches that are in the NFL that truly make it to that level. I'm like, yo, I gotta go to class. I can't afford to do this because if I don't go to class and this coaching thing doesn't work out for me, like I don't have a dad or uncle or the friend of a friend who's coaching that's going to take me under the wing and make sure that I'm good. So I have to be selfish at this point and do what's best for my family and I. So I made sure I went to class, ended up graduating with honors, and I got an opportunity then to transition to the NFL as a front office executive. I worked for the Chicago Bears for 3 seasons. My first year it was more so in-house scouting, doing like more pro work, advanced work, and then doing some college work as well. Then my second, third year was more so focusing on the contract aspect of things, and then out there on the road doing college scouting, still doing pro scouting too. So I got a vast majority of experience, throughout the entire business. So.
Okay, so Andre Odom is who I'm speaking with, everybody, and if you could please hit the thumbs up button. Make sure you subscribe. Also, go to the blackbosschannel.com, and we have a lot of guys over there to do a lot of stuff, have a lot of conversations that relate to black men and what we got going on. So let me ask you this, man. So if I were to ask you to brag about like a who's who list of some of the athletes that you've had a chance to sign in your career. Who would maybe be like your top 3 to 5 that we might know about?
Oh, top 3 to 5. Devin White. He'll be playing in the Super Bowl this week coming up. He was one of my
Is
first
that number
top guys.
45 for the
That's number
Tampa Bay?
45. Yeah, number
Yeah,
45. Yeah.
I'm a Buccaneers fan. I've been
Really? How
from
about
all
that?
year. Yeah, I know that guy. Please go ahead.
Yeah. So Devin White, he was one of the first guys that I've ever had a chance to sign that was at that level of eliteness, right? So I would say him number 1. Marquise Hollywood Brown would be number 2. Number 3 will have to be one of my young guys from this year, Kyle Pitts, the tight end from Florida. Yep. He's God willing, he does his thing, man. He'll be, top 10, top 5 pick. You never know. So I would say those are probably my top 3 guys.
Oh, great. Well, that's awesome. So tell us about the life of a sports agent. What is well, I guess first I want to ask you what's it like? I mean, just in terms of the competition, I can imagine it's got to be intense trying to trying to sign the guys and then trying to get the teams to bring them. I can't imagine what that must be like. Can you talk about that a little bit?
Yeah, I mean, the competition is fierce. There's not a scarce of agents, right? There's 1,000 agents, I believe, or probably a little more than 1,000 agents, and we're all going after the same individual players. And I believe the biggest thing is, or the biggest challenge is, when you're young in this industry, everyone's shooting at you, right? Especially when you're a young guy, like myself. You're young, you're black. This isn't traditionally a business for young black men. That's just the reality of it, right? Even with myself growing up, I personally never wanted to become an agent because there was always such a negative connotation and dark cloud over it. That's why I kind of went the coaching route first and then the front office route after that. And then I kind of just fell into this route, but it ultimately ended up being the route that I was meant to be in. But yeah, I mean, it's tough. I mean, you have all these, older gentlemen that have been in the game for a very long time. And when you're the young guy, obviously their first order of business is to eliminate the competition, especially the young guys, right? So you have people that will say or do anything to sign these players.
Wow.
And, the tough part is, and I'm just being transparent, the tough part is that there aren't a lot of, good people that are kind of like mentoring these young guys. There's a lot of selfish people in the game, a lot of me, things like that. So you have to kind of pick and choose wisely. And the one thing I can say about myself, and then more so for, my partner in the company that I work with directly, which is Athletes First, and a gentleman by the name of David Mulligetta, we go after specific individuals. We're not going to be a good fit for everyone, right? We're very hands-on. We're very, versatile and the skill sets that we bring to the table, if that makes sense. So in some cases, we're father figures. In some cases, we're big brothers. In some cases, we're mentors. We're whatever we need to be for our little brothers because, a lot of these guys don't have that. They don't have that circle of influence to educate them properly and prepare them for what's to come, not only during their contractual obligations to the teams, but afterwards.
Wow. Well, it's funny that you mentioned Temple.
Mm-hmm.
I don't know if you're aware. I literally just saw this on Twitter. Did you see that John Chaney,
I
the
did.
basketball, she just died?
I did, and
So,
he was the epitome of a leader, a developer of young men, and he had such a huge investment in people like us.
wow.
He was a rarity. You'll never see another one. He was a rarity.
Wow. Well, I'll shade to that, brother. It's ironic that that we're talking about Temple, and I literally saw that 30 seconds ago on Twitter. So I don't know if that's an act of God or if it means that the tech gods are always listening to conversations.
Always listen to this.
Yeah, that's a little bit strange. Well, RIP, rest in power to John Chaney. I remember that guy, and I remember growing up, and that was the time where I started to be able to identify, black men of integrity and strength. I remember him going through his battles and back and forth. And I was a kid watching him coach, but there was something different about him. John Thompson, some of these other guys that you don't see. And I want to ask you about that. It's real ironic to me, and I'm sure a lot of folks have a lot to say about this, that we have a dominance of black athletes in football and basketball. But then when you get to the Asian side, it hasn't, at least historically, the representation's been lacking. And I personally would argue that the community loses from that because the people that are making money from some of I consider our athletes to be a multi-trillion-dollar commodity. The numbers of amazing black men that come out. There's nothing like us. There's nothing like the black male athlete anywhere on the planet. How does that make you feel? Just as a black man, as an agent, when you see literally you're talking about, oh, hey, Andre, you still there, brother?
I'm here.
Oh, there he is. Okay. How does that make you feel as a black agent, as a black man, from our community, when you see literally, tens of millions, hundreds of millions, and eventually billions and trillions of dollars in this industry or this thing called the black male athlete, and so much of it ends up missing our community, largely because the business of handling that whole process tends to end up in the hands of other people. Like, we get them when they're in the hood, but then when they get out of the hood, it's like, okay, now somebody else wants to take over the problem. Okay, we got it from here. That's what I see as an outsider looking in. What do you see?
It's frustrating. I see the same exact thing. I can't sit here and act as if I don't. I see the same thing. I experience it every single day, and it's very frustrating. It's unsettling. It's disappointing, but more importantly, the emphasis has to go to what I alluded to earlier when I said a lot of these young guys don't have that circle of influence to truly educate them. Because some people look and say, well, it's the kid's fault. And it's like, well, yeah, you can say that. You have to understand, when you come from extreme circumstances like we do, you don't know what you don't know. So you only know what you see, and you've seen the individuals, before you do the same things. You think that's right. And obviously we know it's not right, and it sucks. And there's no winning formula to that at the end of the day. But, historically, that's just what it's been. And again, for me, it's very frustrating because I know now that I'm in the game and I'm extremely hands-on, and, I'm in the field with it, right? Like, I know there's some very credible, articulate, intelligent, caring individuals that look like us that are in this business. Whether it's on the contractual side, negotiating deals, or whether it's the marketing side, the management side, even the finance side, right? Like, there's a lot of good black people in this business that you can rely on, that you can put your trust in. But unfortunately, it doesn't equate to us getting the business, us getting the relationships, more importantly, us getting the opportunity. And it's frustrating. I mean, it's, when you sit back and you evaluate the landscape, and I say this all the time, and this is no disrespect, right? I'm just unapologetically pro black. That's just what it is, right? So when I look and I see, yeah, we represent only us, right? But we don't have a shot at representing the white players. And it's not that we can't, it's that we don't get the opportunity. right? Like we don't even get a seat at the table. We don't get an opportunity to even entertain that. And it's unfortunate because I wish it was I wish it was I wish there was some continuity there and some openness there where we can actually have that opportunity the same way that they have. Like we just don't have access to that pool, to the entire pool of athletes. So we have to try to maximize our opportunities within our own little space of the numbers and faction that we do have an opportunity to represent. We have to make sure we dominate at that. And I believe that the good agents that are out there, the good financial advisors that are out there, they've done that. We've shown ourselves approved, and we continuously do so. And again, to answer your question, it's frustrating, and it really is. And I can't fake it as if it's not. But at the end of the day, this is the business that we chose, and this is the time in life we're in right now. And I mean, we just got to make the best of it, man. And just try to educate as many people as we can. Parents, friends, handlers, everybody, the kids as well, if that makes sense. I know I just bloviated a little bit, but I'm very passionate about it.
And well, you know what? I like the fact that you're passionate about it, and I think you should be, because this is something that, if you read books like Powernomics, this takes us to the root of our economic exploitation, the root of inequality. Think about this, right? When you talk about Black-owned businesses, which is that is what you are, right? I don't know what your LLC and all that's called, but I'm sure you are incorporated, like you are a businessman, right? You're not a businessman, you're a businessman, right? And so when you look at a Black-owned business, here's what's interesting. Here's one of the reasons why we lose so much wealth is, first of all, everybody else discriminates against Black-owned business. Like you said, a lot of people won't even think about saying, okay, why don't I go sign with this brother who's running a great sports agency? Instead, I'm going to go with somebody else, right? Mm-hmm. But then not only is everyone else discriminating against us, but many of us discriminate against us.
For sure.
So it's like you're in a niche on top of a niche, which is just tragic, right? And I think that should be called out and addressed. And I think that because the first step in addressing that issue will be awareness, right? Just stop it, because a lot of us don't even know, because we've been trained to give it away. We've been trained since birth, for hundreds of years. We've been trained to not see ourselves as viable economic entities. We see ourselves as a guy that can dunk the basketball or throw the football, but not the guy who can manage all the commerce occurring around the football, right? Because remember, we once owned the sports league. Now we just try to get a spot on the team. And if you ain't 6'4", or 6'5", 250 pounds, like there's nothing for you, right? Yep. So with that said, I want to ask you this question more specifically. Because I would tell you, I'm sure that there are young people watching that are like, man, I want to look into this. I want to get into this industry. What would be some first steps to take if somebody wanted to get into the industry that you're in?
Yeah, I mean, I would say step one is to build as many relationships as possible. That's the name of the game. This is a relationship-based business. Just build genuine relationships and bring value to the table and do things, with the intent of, genuinely wanting to help and get better, not looking to, generate revenue right off the gate. Because if that's the case, then you're in the wrong business, right? This is a business where you really have to pay your dues, and it's going to take time. It's not going to happen overnight. And again, like I'm one of the individuals that believe in always, reaching back to try to help the next person, right? Because I didn't have that. Like when I was trying to get into the business, I didn't have anyone that reached back and said, yo, I'll mentor you, I'll help you. So I'm all about that. That's one of my main pet peeves that I truly do focus on. So one, I would say build as many relationships as possible, look to add value, bring something to the table, be genuine, and search for information. There's a lot of information, there's a lot of knowledge out there. Do a ton of reading, different books, picking different individuals' brains, and definitely, make sure you get you a higher level of education, whether it be a master's in business, like I did, or law school, or, master's of science, something along those lines. And two, I would say just be relentless. You're gonna get a lot of no's. You gotta be tough. You gotta be relentless.
Okay.
It's gonna be a lot of no's.
So almost like being a defensive lineman. I admire defensive linemen because you're constantly trying to chase after the quarterback and you miss him like 99% of the time, but every time you got to line up and hit the line hard and, fight through the offensive lineman. And I kid you not, ever since I was like 8, I used to be like, man, it takes a lot of determination to be a defensive lineman. And that determination can carry through life. That ability to just keep punching at the wall 1,000 times to get that one victory. If a person could do that, then they can be successful at anything. So let me ask you this. So you mentioned relationships, information, education, and relentlessness. In terms of specifics on the industry you're in, is there like a certain license a person should get or a conference they might want to attend? Or what about that?
Yep. So the NFLPA, they offer an exam every single year. You'll have to pay, I believe it's $2,500 to take the exam, the agent exam certification test. Once you sign up and you pass your information in and you pay your fee, they'll send you out materials to study. They'll send you out the National Football League manual and some other information for you to just essentially study and prepare for the exam. And once you get past the exam, I mean, you're all good. The exam is very intense. It's 60 questions total. You have to get 48 out of the 68 correct. And then once you do that, you're good.
Okay.
You're a licensed certified advisor.
Then you're licensed and you can go and sign athletes.
Start recruiting, signing players, and negotiating deals.
Okay. Wow. Is there any, just out of curiosity, now that I'm thinking about this, has anybody ever like explored that idea, or is there already in existence something that brings together Black sports agents under some umbrella organization, or is that just something that just doesn't even fit the environment, or because everybody's competing, or has anybody talked about that?
Dr. Boyce, I'm gonna be honest with you. I don't even know. Unfortunately, this is a business where, it's every man for themselves. So it's very competitive. I don't know. I mean, I'm a young guy, right? So again, it goes back to the old adage, who's really looking to, extend an arm, extend an olive branch, extend their hand and try to bring the next one up. And unfortunately, I haven't experienced that in this business other than the gentleman that I'm working with now, who's also African American. And, he, once he became president of the company that we're at, his first order of business was to, bring some other young individuals in like himself. So, and that's what he did.
Okay. Or what about other people, other groups? I mean, are there other, or what associations do exist? I mean, is there any association? Or
I know the NFL. The NFL has one for coaches and front office executives, and I think they do a good job, with their organization of trying to just, help each other develop and share information, prepare for interviews and things like that. But in terms of like the agent side, I don't think so. I mean, I haven't heard of it, or maybe I just haven't done enough digging on it. Honestly, I'm just being transparent.
Okay, no, it's great. Transparency is perfect. So that helps. So that helps me understand. Like, I first of all, I love what you're doing, and I think it's great. And also, I'm only gonna ask you like one or two more questions.
No, take your time. No, my time is your time right now. This is definitely it was a pleasure. I've been following you for a very long time. Like I shared with you on the first conversation we had, you from afar been such a inspiration, and you shared a lot of information, and information is key. People can do tangible things for you all they want, but I think the most important thing that anyone can do for you is share information. So, I appreciate you.
Oh, well, thank you, man. I appreciate you, brother. I have a lot of respect for what you've accomplished, and I'm telling you, man, I like you use that word that I just have learned to value a lot over time, and that's the R word, relationships. A lot of people were confused because maybe the last year and a half, 2 years, I started talking a lot about relationships. We actually even have a whole YouTube channel where all we do is we talk about relationships, and part of it came from the fact that I'm about to marry a woman who's a couples counselor, which right there, that's a lot of work. Yeah. She breaking through that is tough. But then I started really looking at just the operating environment, that I even living in my own life, and looking at who are the most successful people I've known. And the common factor I've noticed is that people who can manage relationships, who really, I'm talking about being intentional about learning how to really be good at relationship development and management, tend to be the most successful. You identify the right people to have relationships with. You nurture those relationships. You learn how to heal those relationships, almost like a doctor healing a patient. Some people just kill their relationships. They amputate. Things go bad. like get out of here. I'm cutting you off. I even see Facebook memes where people brag about, how many people they're going to cut off this year and everything else. Well, I'm like, well, how about bragging about how many people you're going to connect with and reconnect with and rebuild with, right? Apologize to, right?
Mm-hmm.
And so that word relationships, man, I wanted to hang on that because you mentioned a lot of points. I'm going to reiterate those so everybody can take notes on this. But I encourage everybody watching, if you want to be successful, study the hell out of relationship building and relationship management. There's a way you do it. I'll give you examples. First of all, George Fraser wrote a great book called Success Runs in Our Race, where all he talks about is relationships, how to network with people, like little stuff people don't know. Like if you're trying to network with somebody that can really do things for you, like get money for you or whatever, you don't show up asking with your hand out like, hey, will you do this for me, do that for me? You show up with, if you have your hand out, you're offering something. You add, as you mentioned, add value, right? And that's just one of many gems that he drops in that book. And so I encourage everybody to be deliberate, like watch videos on YouTube about how to manage relationships, because that's one thing. And I'm gonna stop talking, but I'm passionate about this. Is that I feel that some of us, because of our trauma, or because sometimes you deal with betrayal, you deal with crazy stuff. Some of us, have almost been killed by people we trusted, whatever. It can make you it can trigger you easily. And when you get triggered, like somebody does something, you're like, oh, they must be trying to get over on me. And next thing you know, there's a fight, right? That's not going to work for you, because then you end up cutting off your best relationship.
Sure.
Whereas if you know how to approach things in a certain way, then you can mend and repair and strengthen that relationship, which allows you to get more done. If you have the right relationship, the things that used to be hard become very easy. Can you kind of speak to that from your experience?
100%. I mean, I believe we've all been in those experiences where we've had individuals who we've trusted and who we've, allocated a certain amount of respect to, that may have burnt us or done us, the opposite of what we expected them to do. I'll say that. But, for me, even in this business right here, I mean, I've had that in this business. I mean, I come from a place where before I got to the agency that I'm at now, the agency I was at before, I kind of experienced some things like that, and that's kind of the way it goes in this business and in life in general. But the one thing that you said was, building relationships with intent, managing relationships. Man, that's one of the toughest jobs there is in the world. But once you get good at it, once you master that portion of your craft, you'll be excellent. The sky's the limit for you, because at the end of the day, everyone wants to feel important, right? Everyone wants to be appreciated. So once you understand those two key points right there, and you start actually applying that, to people genuinely, man, people are very bright individuals subconsciously. Like we know when someone's here just because they want something, right? So that's why I make sure, man, like I'm just one of those individuals that I like to reach out to people just to check in on them. Although they don't do it to me. Hey, man, how are you? How's your family? They don't do it. I don't expect it anymore, right? I do it because I want to. Because at the end of the day, everyone has value. Everyone can be an asset. And you don't want to be that person, or at least I don't want to be that person, to just hit someone up, like you said, when I need something. I just think that's very, I think that's very tasteless. It's definitely not genuine, and it's not good, because I just don't want to be labeled as that guy, man. I genuinely care about people. I want to see people be successful. I want to be one of those individuals that's always, positive light, because everyone else is so negative, man. You have to be different. You have to figure out a way to distinguish yourself, and that's how I've been able to distinguish myself. Just always being optimistic, always being, good to people, no matter what the outcome is. I'm never gonna let anyone dictate my actions, my character, or how I move. I'm always going to make sure I sustain my relationships and, nurture them, and just treat people the right way, even if they don't have anything to offer me.
All right, I love it. Well, everybody who just came in, I'm speaking with Andre Odom. Andre Odom is one of the best sports agents in the country. He is a sharp black man out of Philadelphia. And everybody who's watching, if you could, please hit the thumbs up button, share, subscribe button. And also, just in case y'all don't know, this podcast is not just video, it's also audio. If you go to the drboycebreakdown.com or look me up on Spotify, you will find us on Spotify also. So hit the thumbs up button. And I want to ask my brother one last piercing question, black man to black man.
Mm-hmm.
I do not understand. I'd like to get your take on this. I'm trying to figure out why there isn't a stronger effort for us to actually own a sports league. You know, I know Ice Cube has the big three. And I don't know how that's doing financially. You know, I talked to Cube a few times, but we never talk about the big three. We talk about politics and other things. But I admire what he did. You know, and one thing I say to people is I think that there's a mentality that comes with ownership. You know, it's not about how much money you have all the time. It's about how much of a vision you have. You know, because like you said, you worked with the Chicago Bears.
Mm-hmm.
The Chicago Bears were purchased for like $500 or something back in 100 years ago. Just a couple generations ago. You know, some of y'all got great grandparents that were alive when the Chicago Bears were purchased for a few $100. Now the Bears are worth what, about $3 billion or something?
Easy.
Yeah. And so what do you think? I mean, what am I talking crazy when we got all these black millionaires, trillionaires, flashy, diamond, silver, gold, all kinds of money, 10 million Instagram followers, instant market, right? Why haven't we seen a significant push for like league ownership amongst black men? What do you think?
All right. So I think there's two parts to that question. Part one, I would say, is there are some individuals out there, that do have the resources, they have the capital, they have the relationships. Unfortunately, they just haven't been able to compound it all together with other successful individuals, right? One thing that we have a bad reputation for is not doing business the right way with each other. So I think that does play a part in it. Finding the right team, the right fit, having, again, that word continuity, the right substance. It's a lot that goes into it. So, and unfortunately, there's not many, black men or women that have the capital alone to get it done. So, we'll depend on building a team of us to get it done. And it just hasn't happened yet. It just hasn't happened yet. And part two, some of the emphasis has to be put on the structure too, right? The structure meaning the league, taking the initiative to be open enough to allowing, us to break through, us meaning, African Americans to break through and have ownership, have a piece of it, a real piece of it, have a real say-so in it. The league is made up, what, 73% of African American players, but 0% ownership. I mean, that's very telling.
Well, the thing about ownership is it's a tough thing because if you're talking about it, think about it. I don't know. If you think about it like childbirth, which is easier to make a newborn baby and raise it, or to try to give birth to a full-grown child, like a full-grown man. You can't do that. There's no woman's body that can handle something like that. That's a major task. And the best you can do is maybe adopt or something like that. But the point I make is that when you talk about ownership, I think one of the things that slows us down and intimidates us is we see these multi-billion-dollar sports organizations like the Dallas Cowboys and the LA Lakers and all that, and we're comparing the newborn baby to the full-grown man. We're not comparing. Let's say Jay-Z, Colin Kaepernick, got together and got all their celebrity friends and all their wealthy athlete friends to all come together and form an investment coalition to create a sports league. And then they all pull together their audience, right? They've all between them probably have a billion. If you took Jay-Z and his maybe 50 closest friends between them, they got to have, a billion, followers on social media, right? So you got your audience, you got your capital, and then, and then everybody wants to be a part of this. I can't understand why that wouldn't be just something super exciting to watch. Now, obviously, I'm oversimplifying it, right? Because it's complexities, right? But it bores me to see a highly successful, incredibly wealthy, heavily influential black man or black woman begging for a seat at somebody's table.
Right.
Or like saying, oh, well, they oppress us. They won't let us own nothing. And like, ain't nobody letting you do shit. Like, you got to go out there and take it. Like, just like in sports, like, nobody's going to give the Chiefs the Super Bowl. They got to take it. Right. So I wonder. So I think it's mindset, right? Because Ice Cube is, if you look at him, for example, he's not a guy that you would have ever expected to own a sports league. If you look at his career 25, 30 years ago, you never would expect him to make all these movies that have made hundreds of millions of dollars. All these other things that he's done, it came from a mindset to say, if it doesn't exist, it is my job to create it. Mm-hmm. Right? That's almost spiritual, like the ability to manifest. He talked about when he did Boys in the Hood, and John Singleton said, well, if you're waiting around for Hollywood to give you a script that's built for somebody like you, you're going to be waiting your whole life. That ain't going to happen. So Ice Cube said, okay, well, I'm going to go make Friday, and I'm going to write the script, right? So I think that for the black man, we got to learn, we got to write the damn script. If we don't write the fucking script, the script will never exist.
100%.
Period. So I'd like to get your closing thoughts, man. I have enjoyed thoroughly hearing your story. Did you have anything you want to leave us with in terms of ways we can walk away as better, stronger people? What your plans are for the future? I'd love to hear more about that as well. The floor is yours, brother. Please.
I mean, in order for us to truly, as a people, get better, we have to continuously acquire more information. Continuously read different books, right? But read with the intent to learn. Have conversations with the intent to learn. Having conversations not to just talk, but to truly and genuinely listen and educate ourselves. Because there's a lot of us that are so brilliant, bright people, right? Some of the brightest people in the world. And it's non-negotiable. But if we really combine, our knowledge, our power, put all of our energy, positive energy towards the things that we want to do, we're unstoppable. And that's real. Like, because some of the things we've done to date, like, are absolutely remarkable. To come from where we come from and the extreme circumstances that we've all been through to being successful, or what some people may determine as successful. I mean, most people, they don't make it. They tap out. But we're relentless. We keep fighting. We find a way. Every single time, whenever the cards are stacked against us, we find a way. That's superhero stuff right there. And like you said, mindset, right? When you think about mindset, really digging deep and just, mustering and garnering up all the energy that you have and truly just focusing it on whatever it is that you want to do, man, you can do anything you want to do. Mm-hmm. For me, I mean, I'm from North Philadelphia. I come from nothing, literally. No mom, no dad, grew up,
Wait, no mom, no dad. What?
No mom, no dad. Oh, no, I mean, again, I come from the projects, right? Where, mom was, drug addict, unfortunately. Pop was a drug addict in and out of jail. I was adopted at a young age. I mean, my story is pretty crazy, but again, it's not really about me. It's about all of us, right? Because we all have extreme circumstances that we come from and stories to tell. Everyone has a story to tell, and no one's going to feel sorry for you. And that's one of the things that I've always made sure, that I always kept at the forefront of my mind. Like, no one's, like, this is America. Nobody cares, right? Like, nobody cares, work harder. Nobody cares, find a way. Nobody cares, get up off your initiative, get up off your ambition, create your initiative, go after what you want, because nobody cares. There's not going to be one single person that's going to be there to hold your hand. I don't care if they're white. I don't care if they're black, man, female, it doesn't matter. Nobody cares. Find a way. Find a way. And that's how I am with my children now. I mean, thank God, our children will be a whole lot better off than, I'm a young father, right? Our children will be a whole lot better off than we ever were. But they have to earn it. That's why I have them in a black school right now. Right? So, like, when you called me, full disclosure, when you called me, they were, I told you, they were looking at videos on my phone, videos of themselves. They were like, Dr. Boyce. Like, they know who you are. They're in the Black Business School. They're taking a master's course and doctoral course right now in business, learning about stocks, learning about bonds, learning about real estate, learning about credit. They're doing that right now. But it's on us. We have to take the initiative to instill that in them. Nobody cares, work harder. Nobody cares, find a way.
Wow.
And that's really,
wow,
really
man.
good. Like, this is an honor.
Hey, brother. Well, this is the honor is all mine. You're going in and out a little bit, brother. What was the last part?
Can you hear me?
It's a little bit of crackling. It looks like the
It's like
signal.
breaking up here.
Yeah, breaking up just a little bit.
Yeah.
But we heard the most of it. Everybody put a yes in the chat if you at least heard most of what the brother had to say. This was that was inspirational, man. And everybody, I want you to know what you were just hearing. I'm gonna mute you a little bit on just a little bit of feedback. So I'm gonna mute you as we close out. But the thing that you heard from this brother right now is that's called masculinity. That's called leadership. That's called being a black man, right? Being a black man means understanding that that success is something that in many cases you're gonna have to take. Waiting for people and feeling sorry for yourself is not going to work. If you have something from your childhood that was kind of messed up, a lot of us went through messed up stuff. I highly recommend things like therapy and healing so that you can move forward and not get in your own way. Because a lot of us, the trauma we experience as children stays with us, whether we know it or not. So get help on that. But just know, like what he said is 100% correct. I'm telling you, no one cares about you. And but you can care about yourself. You got enough love for yourself that's all the love you need. Love from yourself, maybe from you got love from God. Maybe if you have somebody in your life that loves you, that's good too. And at that point, move forward. So I love it, man. I love everything you said, brother. I want to say thank you. And I love what you're doing with your kids, by the way. They are going to thank you relentlessly when they get older, because they're gonna be doing some big things in the year 2040 and 2050, and they all gonna be, when they get those lifetime achievement awards, they're gonna tell stories about things that dad was doing back in the 2020s. Well, so God bless you, man, and thank you, and everybody give my brother Andre Odom a digital thank you, digital round of applause. Show your respect, show your love, and thanks, man. It was great speaking with you, brother, and I look forward to talking to you again in the future. All right. Have a good night. Have a good day, man. And have a good night, everybody. Hit the thumbs up button on the way out, and I will see you all very, very soon. Take care.